Hello, Mr. Fox. I'm Solemn. And I wanted to talk to you about your new game, Deltarune. For you see, I'm a bit worried about it. So, your first game, Undertale, absolutely great. Flawless? No, nothing's flawless, but I find it a great example of great character work, as well as letting the choices that you make in a game matter not just to the player, but in the gameplay itself. So, when I played Deltarune, there's a bit of a problem. You see, Deltarune flips that on its head, yes, but that doesn't necessarily mean it works. Why? Because in Deltarune, this first chapter, this demo, the characters feel much more rushed. It's a little bit heavy on the moral. Why does that matter? Well, I hope to explain that to you. Because, well, you said this is a survey program, and, well, I did agree for you to do anything you wanted to me, but doesn't mean I have to be quiet about it, right? So, an important part of the story of Undertale is the characters in it. And one problem I've been having is the fact that Deltarune's characters feel more rushed. Even though the game is longer than the runtime of Undertale can be, except for my dumbass, it took me 16 hours to beat Undertale, but it took me about 6 hours to do Deltarune. And I noticed something. Deltarune has a lot fewer characters, but each of them gets a lot less time being developed. For example, we're going to draw a parallel between Susie and Undyne. Now, Undyne and Susie are very different characters in some aspects, but the main part that they are related is that they're both the badasses. And in Undyne, this is established early on through hearing the guards, through hearing Papyrus, through hearing the citizens talk about her. And then, when you get to the wetlands, you see her power. And all this is happening naturally. By the time you get to know her, by the time you get to talk to her, you already know a great deal about her. And then you have Susie, to which I'm going to ask you a question, Mr. Fox. How long after someone threatens to stab you do you forgive them? With Undyne, you're pretty quick to do it because you've been learning about her pain and misery and fear for an hour. With Susie, fuck you. And that's really to the detriment of Susie. Susie becomes a great character over time if you understand what's going on, which only means the only way to understand that character is to have already played the game. Well, until you see Susie, you're never told about her. In the home, during the setup, you could be talking to your mom or looking at damaged clothes from a fight with her or something that you lost to her. In the school, people could talk about her. They could be afraid of her or mention that quiet kid in the back. And they could confuse it with you, which would be great to throw off the player. But instead, all we get is that a door is kicked open, we're sent outside with them, and they threaten us with violence, with a mouthful of lethal weapons. Really, those things are terrifying. And she doesn't do it because your mom's nice? You're not giving us very good, very solid reasoning here. Now, you can take advantage of that, though. If she's a little bit crazy, that's fine. If you let us know. You could use her, at times, irrational behavior to your advantage to developing the character. Have her say things that make us question what she's doing. For example, you currently have just a statement. Quiet people piss me off. Have her instead ask a question like, do you know why quiet people piss me off? Because they're always watching you, judging you. That would make you wonder, why does she think that? Who taught her this? And who's been watching her? This would make it much more quick and easy to understand this character at a vital time. Why? Because she just threatened to kill us! If a character is mean to the player, they begin to quickly disassociate from them. And if we're supposed to care about the person, that's the worst thing. If the story hinges upon a character we don't like, we're not going to invest our time in them. And that's unfortunately is what's happening to Susie. But it's happening to other characters as well. So, for example, Rousey. Rousey is a cute, fluffy boy. We got that. And he's lonely. But for someone who's lonely, he sure seems to understand the world pretty well. He knows who to compliment, who to bow to, how to talk. How do you learn all this being by himself? This isn't necessarily unfixable. Have him talk about books. Maybe have him slip up. Or have him and Susie interact more with the character that I think you did the best job with, Lancer. Now, when I first saw Lancer's big goofy grin, I didn't really think much of him. But Lancer is the character that you actually use the best to set up all the other characters. The problem is, you set them up to learn things in the finale, well beyond when the audience was engaged. So, for example, that first battle, you could have the changes show up in Susie and Rousey in the first battle. When Susie is going to attack Lancer, have him compliment her if she swings and misses or if she hits. Why? Because it would establish earlier on that he's not like other people and that he views her differently. It would also quickly establish her curiosity about him. This would allow you to more quickly and easily and naturally establish her character, instead of having to wait until much later when she threatens him again. Why did she wait to threaten him all the way when her first interaction with you is to bite your face off? Meanwhile, for Rousey, have him fall for some of the Lancer's jokes and tricks. That would be great. It would show up and show off a way that shows that Rousey doesn't have all the knowledge. He has book smarts, but he's lonely. And begin to use his loneliness to reflect Lancer's. So, then why is choice so important in this? Well, it's actually kind of simple. Now, you may be right that we don't have a lot of choices in our life. It's very important to this game to differentiate itself from Undertale, where this game has choice not being a central part of it. That choice doesn't matter to the story of this game. There's only one story. But there's a small problem with this. You see, there is a choice amongst the players, and that is whether or not to care. Fuck you. If you continually tell someone their opinions don't matter, their choices don't matter, that they don't matter, they stop engaging. They stop listening. And they will make a choice on purpose to fight it. How do I know this? It began to happen to me. As I played through the game, at a certain point, I no longer cared. I no longer engaged with the characters because I no longer found it worth my time to talk to Susie, to talk to Lancer, to talk to Rousey. Because at a certain point, when told that I have no choice, I began to choose to fail. Because there is always a choice. The choice is to stop. The choice is to quit. There is always a choice. The choice is when we are told there is no choice, we make one, even if it's a bad one. And that's the problem here. Continually telling us that our choices don't matter eventually breaks the game. It breaks the feeling you're trying to get out of your players. If you are trying to teach them a lesson, it's not working. Remember when you were a kid and in class someone would do something wrong? How did you feel when the teacher punished the entire class for it? Didn't like it. You probably didn't learn anything from it. That's what this is. This is inspiring the opposite. Telling us we have no choice makes us resistant to the game and then gives us one choice: to stop playing, to disengage, to not care. And that is anathema to deltarune. Not to say that you can't have that message, but it is currently being shoved down our throats. And our natural reaction is to gag. Now, this could be solved with pacing. This could be solved with time. But the survey program is this small window, and I can only look at it through this window. I wasn't expecting Undertale 2. But right now, it feels more like a fan game than one of your games. It feels like an AU where someone is trying to work out some problem. It feels forced. It feels rushed. I can feel it. And I responded to it by shutting down, by shutting it out. I don't want that. I want to be wrong. I want to feel something. There are other games I've played where the message ends in sadness, where it ends unhappy, and I felt more those times than in this. Why? Because there's a difference between having me be sad and trying to make me sad. Now, I think this can be fixed. A big part of it is just the fact of how loudly it's said that we can't choose. It was well done in the very first part, and it could be used very well at the end with the villain. But all the points between the fight, the finale, and the beginning ruse with the character creator, every other time it feels artificial. So, those are my critiques. Those are my thoughts. And I think that you do have a choice in this, Mr. Fox. Do you make this better? Thank you.